Within a world of vastness, there is a place that is home to where giants grow. California, the Golden State, has more to offer than the Kardashians or avocado toast. It has the Redwoods.
Hi, I'm Park Ranger Annie. I help manage and patrol the national and state parks of the Redwoods.
First off, these trees are the tallest and some of the oldest species of trees in the world. The old-growth trees are around 2,000 years old and can reach up to 350 feet and have a diameter of 20 feet. Their branches, caves from the fires, leaves, and trunk are all homes to various species, including owls, bats, salamanders, flying squirrels, ferns, and even western hemlock on the branches of the redwood.
There are very few restrictions on logging and timber harvesting throughout the colonial days, and it wasn't until October 2nd of 1968 that the Redwoods National Park was actually confirmed a national park. These trees have really high tannin content, which makes them resistant to fire and fungi,
which in turn makes it a desirable material for furniture and building. Due to catastrophic fires and logging, 95% of these old-growth trees have been killed, with only 5% remaining. The conversion of the redwood forest creates fragmented land which compromises the biodiversity of the forest. According to Save the Redwoods League, 25% of the original redwood forest was lost to land conversion, while the remaining 1.5 million acres is young growth forest that has previously been logged. Because of mycorrhizal networks, which allow for communication and signaling between trees, nutrients and resources often flow from oldest to youngest plants, which can make it more difficult for saplings or new growth to flourish. Old-growth forest structure complexity is key to its biological diversity. However, there's hope. If the second generation of forests can develop old-growth characteristics, then similar benefits and ecological values will be instilled within the new-growth forest. Even when old-growth trees are logged, they provide nutrients to the surrounding trees.
You can see that all of these trees are actually growing in a circle around this here stump.
We call this a fairy ring. It's when a stump of logged or fallen tree allows for a new generation of redwoods to sprout from its roots. In addition to land conversion and logging, there are also effects of climate change. While redwoods are able to obtain up to 40% of their water from the fog each year, they still need rainfall. Due to climate change, there are increasing amounts of droughts, which lead to fires. When it comes to forest fires, there are two categories. 1, the good kind. 2, the bad kind. The good kind, also commonly known as the cooler and more moderate fire, actually sustains the forest, prevents overcrowding, recycles nutrients, and stimulates seedling germination. Throughout history, the low-intensity fires could have been caused by lightning strikes, Native American cultural burning, since the redwoods are home to the Tolowa, Yurok, Hupa, and Wiyot tribes. We know fires are a part of the old-growth tree life cycle when we see things like chimney trees or even charred trees. However, in the 1800s, European settlers settled on the idea of removing induced fire and the natives, which changed the ecosystem altogether, including more susceptibility to fire number 2. When there's not enough moisture, we get a bad fire, the hot, intense killer fires. Even though these big old redwoods are pretty resilient, the fires still find their weaknesses. We see this most summers with California forest fires, but the summer of 2015 was rough. There were over 5,000 fires that burned over 200,000 acres of forest, and most of these acres were right here in Northern California. Due to the forest being 95% second growth, many of these trees don't yet have thick enough bark to protect the buds underneath so that the main trunks can sprout, leading to prolonged recovery.
When your mom was telling you to go outside to put you in a better mood, she was not lying. Smell that? That's phytoncides. Trees release it into the air to help fight disease, but it actually has really positive effects on the human psyche.
These trees also just trigger that feeling of awe, which is also super great for your mental well-being. Many children who have regularly experienced green spaces during upbringing typically report having a better well-being in adulthood. In locations with high biodiversity, these effects are even more enhanced. While we mentioned a lot about the trees, the rivers and the coasts also play a major role in the high biodiversity of the redwoods. Think about spending time in a grass plain versus being immersed in this. There is still beauty in the plains, but being surrounded by the dense energy of this forest is something magical. While humans are part of nature, we contrast with parts of nature. These trees are all interconnected, their roots intertwining and stabilizing one another, mycorrhizal networks allowing for signaling, communication, and distribution of nutrients. These trees are selfless and resilient, which can hold a significant appreciation and demonstrate examples of healthy codependency, which was recognized by the tribes in this area. As mentioned earlier, this part of Northern California is home to native tribes. Each one of these tribes has values that cherish the trees. The Yurok tribe considers them to be sacred living beings who stand as guardians over their sacred places. Often, the materials used were from fallen branches or those that washed up on beaches because destroying the trees was considered an act of violence. The Sinkyone, Tolowa, Yurok, and other tribes in this area would all use parts of the tree for their crafts. Roots were used in ceremonial basketry, the needles for medicine, and the wood for canoes and houses. Currently, there are many efforts being made to preserve the redwoods. Our friends over at Save the Redwoods League have made tremendous contributions since 1918 to protect and restore the forest. They have purchased over 200,000 acres of the forest in order to continue to study and nurture the trees. Additionally, as a way to ensure lasting protection and ongoing stewardship, they have donated over 500 acres of land back into the ownership of the Sinkyone Council. It is now again known as the Tse Le Dun, meaning fish run place. Having a deep awareness of the redwoods is the first step in preserving it. It takes more than scientists and park rangers in order to protect the redwoods. It takes a community. Let these bad boys thrive for another 2,000 years and then 2,000 years more. Remember to have fun and
remember to stay on the trails.